Today I'm going to show you how to become a smarter player in Warzone. We're going to be breaking down a 22 kill victory where I show you the 3 fundamentals of game sense: observation, anticipation, and reaction. Don't make this complicated. What do you see and hear? What do you think the opponent will do based on that intel, and should you react to it? I'm going to give you basic and advanced tips, including how to regain, how to prioritize targets, and how to clutch up in the final circle. If you're sick of getting dunked on in Warzone, then hit the like button and subscribe so you don't miss my upcoming guides on Haven's Hollow and the Black Ops 7 integration. So landing in, we want to prioritize getting a weapon quickly, and I like to land in the middle of buildings because it's harder for enemies to chase you. Once we have actionable intel from footstep audio that they are above, we have to start with that process. And this is what I mean about absorbing in that information, that observation of what you see or hear. In this instance, they are on the floor above us based on the wood audio cues that we are getting. Now, what this means is not only can I hear them, they can hear me because I am running and they have the exact same information as me, but players with higher game sense think about how they're going to react, and they're likely aiming on this door here, so I am going to change my strategy and enter through the window to surprise them. Just that simple mantling up, they were focusing their attention on the wrong area, which gives me ample time to outplay from an off angle. We immediately return our attention to the last known position of his teammates, which is over here at Harbor, as well as ours. So we're going to move to the outside, see if we can get a line of sight on someone. We're shooting somebody downrange and then switching to the player that is peeking out in the open. Now here is another example of how I'm anticipating that information. As I have their current position, I've broken the player, and now I'm predicting what they will do as we go up the steps, as they try to escape my gunfire. I am anticipating their reach out, so I'm stopping at the head of this staircase, and I am pre-aiming this door for the re-challenge. And it is really that simple. These small decisions inside of your firefights are what are going to change the outcome drastically for you. When I am engaging multiple known targets, I am going to exercise the shouldering technique or hugging close to the cover, staying close to cover so that as I drop one enemy, I have the ability to get away if it's not a safe pivot to the second target. Not getting greedy, I'm backing off the fight. I'm reloading my weapon first and then plating while repositioning. Remember, the 5 R's of the gunfight reset are retreat, reload, reposition, replate, and then re-engage. This allows for teammates to come in and trade, and it gives you ample time so that you can complete that reset. Following the audio cues is something I have preached about religiously, and predicting player behavior is all about repetition. And again, thinking about if your teammates had just died inside of this small building, you may want to get elevation and an angle into that building. So I'm combining that experience along with the audio cue, and then looking directly at the roofline where they would be, and then using an aim control tactic by pulling down on the right stick, breaking them, communicating their location, and then I see them pop off the roof and down onto the other side. We are aware of the sniper glint, and we are moving in and away from that. And as we do, we are continually getting more audio cues of those surface sounds, and we're hearing enemies go up the steps. It's an ascending crescendo of sound. As it gets closer to you, the pitch changes, and you have to learn to use that audio cue as enemies come close to your doorway and be ready to outplay those angles. And a lot of players will focus on the door swing, whereas I use the door as a blind to rotate my intention, and then I immediately come out to the opposite side, as it initiates a panic in the enemy, and then they are now on the move. And if you've already reset your position, you can catch them with their gun up. You can make use of what little ammunition you have left because their gun is not up and they weren't ready for your repositioning. Making sure you're taking in those pings from that resurgence and resetting your own fights. Take responsibility for your own gunfights, but try to assist your teammates with those pinch tactics. Being aware of that ping is so important, especially on return, avenging enemies. Using cutoff routes is a huge part of predicting player behavior. Is if they're going to run out of a building and around a corner, you want to have the upper hand in that pinch. So practice cutting off players' routes as they go through, say, Grandma's house and they're jumping or running down 2 sets of staircases. You can exit the building and just go straight to the bottom and catch them while they're trying to rotate. It's important to consolidate your cache after a large wipe like that so that you can get your loadout very quickly. We want to get our loadout guns as fast as possible because it's a no-brainer. We want to have the advantage in all of our fights. Last known positions are huge when you don't have a UAV, but you still have to react to players that you suddenly encounter. Stay close to that cover and continue to trade with teammates, but this is where those cutoff routes are really overpowered. Is if you're anticipating their getaway, you can stop an enemy from even getting their thirst and force them to give away their own position. Then you return to the pinned location. Remember that we saw this fly in before, and even though we engaged one player, we're now looking at all of our information. Not only do we have a character on the edge of factory, you have to ask yourself, what are they looking at? They're likely looking down at the boat, which is confirmed by the minimap ping. This tells us for sure that there's 2 teams because they wouldn't be displayed on that minimap if they were not firing their weapon. And if they are firing their weapon in this vicinity, it means that they're not on the same team. That puts us with the potential of up to 8 enemies, which means we need to play our power position. And a power position is very simple. You have high ground or you have cover in some way, and you need to use that to your advantage once you get the information. Now, we have multiple fly-ins on the boat, as well as multiple at office, ups and downs on both of the arrows, and we are continually seeing players return. So we are the active third party in this fight. It's time to play that position to the best of our ability. Now, we have new information on the top of blue in living quarters. There looks to be multiple loadouts and players landing in on that as well. We are, on the other hand, getting information from teammates that Grandma's house is also trying to add a 4th party into the scenario. We don't have a direct location, but we have sniper glint. And that's where I say, manage your power position. Keep yourself close to that cover and don't give away your ability to return fire by jumping down prematurely. Now here, we can see that they have rotated into offices, but we're not going to give up our power position because we still have lots of kill potential on the roof of factory. And you can see that here, we're using our sidestepping motion to activate rotational aim assist, as well as pulling down on the right stick to lower that recoil. That's something you really need to practice because if you are proficient with it, you can get many, many more kills by engaging long-range targets from those power positions. What you have to be careful, though, is once you get down to get those thirsts, you give up your protection, which is where I talk about not being over thirsty in these scenarios because it can get you killed. Now, once you're coming back, there's a tendency to go to your loot. And you will hear me talk about this a lot in my videos. And what I like to do is land near my teammates or in somewhat of a protected area and get ground loot or maybe even somebody else's loadout first. And that gives me more control over the situation, and that's a better regain. It may not be your loadout weapon, but you didn't give up your position trying to get your guns back. So we have power position. We're still getting landed on, and there's players close by, but we're back towards the team at office. We don't have the best situation, because while we're trying to engage, we're getting landed on by another enemy. I'll tell you guys this time and time again. The days of you landing on an enemy and being able to execute them are long gone. Stop trying to do that. It is very, very ineffective. You want to land away from where the action is and get yourself a weapon first. You also want to play to the strengths of the weapons that you actually have, and the position remaining in the circle. We are focusing a lot of attention here because of the quantity of enemies on these loadouts, as well as they have to rotate up. We have a team down here in office, and we also have a team down in the bottom of factory. So we're still the third party, actively pushing both teams, actively holding both teams, but we're managing our cover on the roof of factory from both living quarters and grandmas. An important thing to remember is that while you're holding another team, you can easily become the hold, which is where we need to look at what opportunities we have for exit that will be safe from the team that's already fired upon us at grandma's house. Always try to get information on fly-ins before you engage them. The audio will let you know in a lot of cases if it's a bad idea. And I'm hearing lots and lots of footsteps. It's a complete stampede down there. So I'm going to play to the advantage of that zone pull. And I'm looking at the white line and telling myself in just 40 seconds, they're not going to be able to hang out in the bottom of factory anymore. So I'm going to use that positional motivation to get a clear line of sight on these enemies and not push down when they are likely holding multiple corners. I'm getting a 2 times concussed enemy, which means they are really close on top of each other. And I'm peeking to see if they're out in the hallway. They've got some consistent shots. I don't want to oversell my position. I want to keep my power position. That's exactly why, is they're going to use lethals and tacticals to keep you at bay as well. Hold down your lanes and be ready to exit. Always have an exit strategy, and remember, the hold from the opposite team. Switch from offense into defense fluidly when this happens. We have a credible threat that's either at HQ, grandma's, or prison, and we need to address that while we're still rotating to take out these potential enemies. As we push out into the open, we are immediately sliding back towards cover, just in case we are not successfully getting shots on target. And this is a great time for us to re-solidify our loadout situation. We're still respecting the credible threat above us, and we're going to use a rotational tactic to get into zone, maybe in a little bit safer route. Still getting audio cues from factory low. What would you do if you were them? This is what I mean by hot zone, is you're respecting that power position by immediately going towards cover so that you can return fire or escape safely. So we react to that enemy, we knock them off the cover, we're seeing if we can get some supportive shots on the opposite side, and we have a teammate that needs purchase back. We're able to successfully do that, but the enemy is at the top of prison back up, and with a sliver of health and a little bit of instinct, we are able to completely shut down their line of sight by holding cover as close as possible. But after you've distracted them, it's time to move. Get inside, and then reset your plates, reset your ammo, and try and get yourself better positioning. We are still not in a great spot. We are underneath of prison, and what we need to do is clear that credible threat before we rotate out. Teammate has intended to take the vehicle, but he's taking lethal damage from down in zone. And unfortunately drives off with the vehicle. Now, the same player that's been watching us on prison roof takes us out again. Pink is able to bring us back into the game, though, down at control, and I like to play low ground during the end game. Gives me more versatility in my exits, and also makes me less of a priority target. Now, this is where prediction is so important, is I am the last alive on my team. I talk about 3-star, 2-star, 1-star fights regarding position, information, and resources. In this situation, my resources are quite poor, but it's important to absorb all of this information at high speed, so let's do a complete HUD review. We have a top buy, a low buy, and a portable buy, which would be great if I had any money. I don't. So I do have, on the other hand, a purple MP40. I have a precision airstreak, which means I can't go outside. I should stay away from windows. I have 5 enemy players left in the game and 2 teams. Now, that's a 3v2 that are likely going to be far focused on one another than me. So I'm going to play my positioning inside in zone because I don't have any plates. I do have a full gas mask. What I want to do is find a kill so that I can get some money or some other resources. Having the information and holding them from the area, holding them from the bridge, I'm able to get a UAV, and I have more information. So just in this scenario alone, I have the player that is down in the bottom of small building, which is likely the guy that just jumped out the window on me from here. I have 2 players on the roof, and I have what I think to be a high side buy. That now puts the enemy count to 7. I am in a 1v7 scenario. You have to be able to absorb that information. There are a lot of players that would pursue that one guy in hopes to get enough money to do what? Buy one guy back that will have ground loot. That's a dumb play. So I needed to thin the herd and use strategy to keep the balance of the game. Generally, the most stacked team is going to be the highest on the POI because they have the most control, and your smaller one-man teams are going to be in the bottom, which is exactly how I'm going to play this fight. Multiple above, multiple below, and 1 on my level. He's likely going to die in the gas, but this is where it's important. I have circle pull. I'm checking all of my corners and respecting this viewpoint from the wall here on any teammate, on any enemies that are outside, as well as I'm getting a break on my lethals that I threw over the railing. Notice here, I'm still respecting this fight by pulling information first from the heady. My profile is as small as possible so that I'm incredibly hard to hit for when I take a gunfight. They're playing scared, hiding in the corner. It's an easy win. I have new information on my map from my UAV, and once again, I am using all of my equipment that I can to hold down my sector. Waiting for enemies to mess up, looking at the circle clear as it comes over the wall, getting multiple down arrows on that, so I decide to try and take the high ground. Unfortunately, disregarding the top of big building, but I'm able to react quickly and get down into safety. So where's the next place that players are going to go? And I see the box move, which tells me that there's someone looting directly on the buy, and that's another giveaway that you can look for, is loot moving can sometimes give you very small pieces of information as you peek around the corner. On an enemy, they likely want to purchase, but so does the other team. It's now still a 3v1 scenario. So I'm not going to drop down right away. I'm going to get a knock. I'm going to shoot successfully at that, and I'm going to double tap the interact button to buy as many players as possible. Now we are in a 3v4 scenario. These are where these end games are very crazy on the buy, and I'm waiting to be pushed by one of those enemies. I'm going to use my trip mine, hold down this main room, and wait for them to go for the buy station. The buy station is now closed. I cannot buy back, but neither can they. Up arrows on that, and they have the roof control. So it is 3v2. And predictive circle collapse is another huge part of my game sense, and this is how much game sense plays into the final end game. We are once again outnumbered. We don't have stims, but we have a gas mask this time. This circle is already pulled, which means it's going to continually get smaller and smaller. And I've been in this situation before, and I remember thinking they're likely going to jump to the next set of high ground, which will put them still above us on the ground level. So how do we react? We use the resources that we have, and we communicate to our teammate. And we get confirmation of the flyover. So as soon as I get that confirmation, I know that they're going to be here in zone. And if this guy stays on the roof, they are going to be watching this staircase for us to come up, because it's our only way to get up unless you make a gas play. So I'm moving far away from the rotation so they can't hear my footsteps. And I'm going as far left as I possibly can, burning up that gas mask and getting myself into a higher elevated position. I'm able to take the element of surprise, knock one, and immediately swing into cover, switching the weapon so I have the most amount of ammo to clutch the game. Guys, this thought process is very simple to start working on, but it can get very advanced as you start to layer these decisions over and over again throughout multiple gunfights and all the way through the end of the game. If you want to get better at Warzone, I say it all the time, you have to change the way that you think. If you're constantly pushing red dots and trying to use movement to outplay every enemy, you're going to get embarrassed more often. Keep building, keep adapting. SitRep out.